Before we begin, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss stories Hollywood tried to keep hidden. Your support helps us uncover the truth behind forgotten mysteries. What you're about to hear isn't just another celebrity tragedy. It's a story of silence, fear, and unanswered questions. For more than 40 years, the world was told this was an accident. But when you look closely, that explanation begins to fall apart. Tonight, we revisit the night that changed Hollywood forever. The night Natalie Wood died, and the questions that refused to disappear. For decades, the public was given a simple explanation. Natalie Wood, one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, fell into the ocean by accident. That was it. No deeper investigation, no uncomfortable questions. But accidents don't usually leave behind this many contradictions. As time passed, witnesses spoke up, files resurfaced, and silence cracked. What emerged was a far more troubling picture, one that suggested fear, control, and a desperate cry for help. A story Hollywood would rather forget, but some stories refuse to stay buried. On November 29, 1981, Natalie Wood's body was discovered floating near Catalina Island. She was 43 years old. The water was cold, dark, and unforgiving. She was wearing a flannel nightgown, a down jacket, and wool socks, clothing that made no sense for a late-night swim. The news stunned the world. Natalie Wood wasn't just famous, she was iconic. Her death felt unreal, almost impossible. But the details immediately raised eyebrows, and they still do today. Natalie Wood was more than a movie star. She was part of America's cultural history. From Miracle on 34th Street to Rebel Without a Cause and West Side Story, she grew up in front of the camera. Millions watched her transform from a child actress into a Hollywood legend. Her beauty, talent, and charm made her unforgettable. To the public, her life looked glamorous and complete. Fame, success, and a high-profile marriage. But behind the scenes, cracks were already forming. Natalie spent Thanksgiving weekend aboard the yacht Splendour with her husband Robert Wagner, co-star Christopher Walken, and Captain Dennis Davern. It was supposed to be a short, relaxing getaway. Instead, it became one of Hollywood's darkest mysteries. They left Marina del Rey on November 27 and anchored near Avalon. The weather was rough. Cold winds, rain, and heavy waves surrounded them. Despite this, Wagner insisted on moving to a more isolated area called Two Harbors. That decision would later haunt everyone involved. That evening, the group went ashore for dinner at the island's only restaurant. Witnesses remembered heavy drinking, champagne, cocktails, laughter that felt forced. By the time they returned to the yacht, they were visibly intoxicated. According to later accounts, the mood shifted quickly. Jealousy surfaced. Tension filled the air. Wagner appeared upset about Natalie's closeness with Walken, especially after Walken encouraged her to focus on her career. What began as an argument soon escalated into something far darker. Captain Dennis Davern later recalled a violent confrontation. Wagner allegedly smashed a wine bottle and shouted accusations at Walken. The argument echoed across the yacht. Voices were raised. Emotions boiled over. At some point, Natalie retreated to her cabin. Wagner followed. Then came silence. No music, no laughter, just the sound of waves and something deeply wrong. What happened next remains the most disturbing part of the story. Around midnight, a woman on a nearby boat heard screams cutting through the night. A woman's voice crying, "Help me! Someone please help me! I'm drowning!" The cries continued for nearly 15 minutes. Then a man's voice calmly responded, "Okay, honey." After that, everything went quiet. No lights, no alarms, no immediate rescue attempt. Despite the screams, no one called for help. That silence would prove fatal. The Coast Guard wasn't contacted until 3:30 a.m., more than 4 hours after Natalie was last seen. Rescue crews arrived at 5:11 a.m. By then, it was far too late. Her body was found a mile from the yacht. Nearby, the dinghy was discovered beached, still tied as if it had never been used. Wagner claimed Natalie went out to secure it and slipped, but those who knew her struggled to believe that explanation. Natalie Wood had a lifelong fear of dark water. Friends, family, and colleagues all confirmed it. She avoided swimming alone. She hated small boats at night. Her mother once told her a fortune teller predicted she would die by drowning. Natalie never forgot it. That fear stayed with her for life. The idea that she would willingly step into cold, dark water alone made no sense to those closest to her. It didn't match who she was. Natalie's story didn't begin with her death. It began with a childhood shaped by pressure and control. Born in 1938 to Russian immigrant parents, her mother believed fame was the family's escape from poverty. Natalie became that hope. Discovered at a young age, she was pushed into non-stop work. Long hours, endless expectations. Even her emotions were controlled. When she couldn't cry on cue, her mother used cruelty to force real tears. That trauma never left her. By her teenage years, Natalie was no longer seen as a child. Hollywood treated her like an adult long before she was ready. At 16, she became involved with much older men in powerful positions. Relationships that blurred boundaries and left lasting emotional scars. What was celebrated publicly often felt confusing and painful privately. Natalie learned early that her voice didn't matter as much as her image. Silence became survival. Natalie believed in fairy tales, and Robert Wagner seemed like one. She married him young, believing in forever. But as her career soared and his stalled, jealousy crept in. Their marriage collapsed once before. They reunited years later, hoping love had changed them. But friends said the same patterns returned. Arguments, control, insecurity. By the time Christopher Walken entered the picture, tension was already simmering beneath the surface. For years, authorities stood by the accident ruling. But Natalie's sister, Lana Wood, never accepted it. She kept asking questions when others stayed quiet. In 2000, Captain Dennis Davern finally spoke publicly. He described a violent argument and claimed Wagner prevented him from calling for help. Davern said Wagner insisted on silence. His words changed everything. Suddenly, the story no longer felt accidental. In 2011, the case was officially reopened. Investigators cited new witness statements and inconsistencies. The following year, Natalie's death certificate was amended. The cause was changed from accidental drowning to drowning with undetermined factors. Bruises found on her body suggested more than a simple fall. In 2018, authorities named Robert Wagner a person of interest. The mystery deepened instead of disappearing. Despite renewed attention, Wagner refused to cooperate. He declined interviews and avoided investigators. Christopher Walken offered only speculation, not answers. Witnesses from nearby boats stood by their accounts of hearing cries for help. Others reported seeing lights and movement on the yacht long after Wagner claimed everyone was asleep. The pieces didn't fit together, and they still don't. Years later, another painful truth emerged. Natalie had suffered abuse as a teenager at the hands of a powerful Hollywood figure. It was something she kept hidden for decades. She learned early that speaking out came with consequences. That silence shaped her entire life. It shaped her fear. It shaped her need for control. And it shaped how she endured pain quietly. Natalie's fear of drowning wasn't just superstition. It symbolized losing control, being trapped, not being heard. And on her final night, witnesses say she screamed for help for minutes. No one came, no one answered, except for a calm voice telling her everything was okay. Then silence. The fear she carried her entire life became reality. An unsolved truth. To this day, no charges have been filed. No final answers have been given. But what's clear is this: Natalie Wood's death doesn't look like a simple accident. It looks like a tragedy shaped by silence, power, and missed chances to save a life. If help had been called sooner, she might have survived. That truth alone is impossible to ignore. Natalie Wood will always be remembered as a Hollywood star. But her story is also a warning. A reminder of what happens when voices are ignored and truth is buried. So now we ask you, do you believe her death was truly an accident, or was it something far more sinister? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more stories uncovering Hollywood's hidden past, make sure you're subscribed. Some mysteries should never be forgotten.